line. The idiot, the captain, did not look at the weather reports. Anybody see this? So he's got a bunch of people, and I would never go on a cruise anyway in a million years. And I will get back to, I promise we'll get back to Andy Reid, but I will never, or the Buffalo Wonder, I will never go on a cruise line as long as I live. I'm not sitting a week on a boat where all I do is eat. I'm not doing that. But the bottom line is, if you're the captain of the Norwegian cruise line, and I know it's all about money, and God forbid you don't get them home in time because you screw up the dates, and then somebody gets an extra day out in the sea, and that's they get you lose money as a company. But you think maybe last Wednesday or Thursday when you leave the Bahamas on Tuesday night, that maybe with this storm that was a doozer coming up the East Coast, you think maybe that you maybe not go up, maybe you go around the other way. I mean, go the Pacific way. I mean, how in the world can any captain decide that this is not a bad way? The weather ain't that big a deal. That we're going to go home back to New York from the Bahamas in the middle of last week. Anybody see the pictures of this? People throwing up all over the place. Water, they thought it was the Titanic. Water all over the place. People sleeping in the atrium. Somebody, there was a family from Stony Brook, Long Island, who got off the boat on Friday, said it was the worst experience of my life. I never thought I'd ever see something like this. I thought it was the end. People, the stabilizing unit breaking, so people thought the thing was going to flip. I mean, what a mess. You think that maybe the people, and again, I would never, ever, Tori likes the cruises. Why go on a cruise when you can fly to the warm weather in 3 hours instead of taking a boat there for a week? I don't understand. I mean, and if you look, and if it's expenses, you could figure out a way to get down to a Caribbean island, and it's not the end of the world financially. I know right now you can't go with the hurricanes, but why in the world would you go on a boat to the and then to be packed in like sardines, and all you do is eat pancakes, food for basically 8 days, and walk off the boat 40 pounds overweight? Why would you do that? I don't understand. You drink and eat, that's it, and read a book and gamble. I don't. That to me is not a vacation. But regardless, can you imagine spending all that money and getting on that cruise line Norwegian on a Tuesday in the Bahamas, and you think it's going to be clear sailing, and the captain says bon voyage, and you're on the boat on Tuesday night in a storm that is a bomb cyclone, what they call it, whatever it called it, I mean, with water all over the place. What a complete mess! Oh my God! I don't know if Norwegian made it right. And it does seem to be in a lot of issues with these cruise lines. There's always something going on. They get stuck in the Gulf of Mexico for weeks. There's always something going on. Yeah, you know what? If I'm a passenger on that, I'm getting my money back. That's all there is to it. Or 3 days free somewhere. That I don't understand. Here is Andy in Florida, and he's with us here on the Poseidon Adventure. There's water dripping all over. I mean, what a mess. How can anybody do that? Andy in Florida, good afternoon. What's going on today? All right, Andy, I don't know what Andy's doing, but it's not doing what he should be doing, and that is, of course, listening to the great Chris Russo. So as a result, we'll turn our attention to Bob in the Bronx and Eddie Erickson, who's looking at cruise line deals instead of getting the phone calls organized. What else is new? Robert, good afternoon. How are you today? What's going on? Yes, Bob,
okay,
take it away.
Long time.
Hello, Bob. Nice. Are you a refugee, Bob?
I'm a refugee.
Yeah, we got a refugee. There you go. There we go.
That's way.
We have found a refugee. You can't find a home on terrestrial radio in New York after 30 years. You don't like the alternative on ESPN. And you say to yourself, after losing me for a decade, where is that Mad Dog? Where'd he go again? Oh, I heart. No, he went
Mad
to
Dog Island.
There you go, Mad Dog Island.
Mad Dog Island. I'm paddling towards that flag, doggy.
We're here now, Robert.
Listen.
We're here. What's on your mind today? Let me hear.
All right, buddy. Listen, on the Jacksonville game. Now, being a Giant fan as myself, I have an interest in the Jacksonville game, and I have a two-part question for you. One, can Jacksonville win in spite of Bortles?
Well, not the whole thing. Not the whole thing. Not the whole thing. Go ahead.
Okay. And two, if Bortles puts up another atrocious game like he did this weekend, does that raise the ante, or maybe will they overpay and call the Giants about Eli Manning?
Well, I think also, Bob, they could call the Chiefs about Alex Smith. And I think the Chiefs are a little bit more inclined to go to Mahomes because they've already got him on a team and he's already played a game in the NFL, while the Giants don't know exactly what they may be getting with that second pick. So from that perspective, I think maybe Kansas City would go, maybe he's a little younger too. Maybe they go a little bit more in the Alex Smith direction than they would Eli. I know Coughlin and Eli, so that's where people are going to make that connection. I understand that, but they could go somewhere else to go get a quarterback as well. And, why wouldn't Alex Smith go to Jacksonville? They're further along on the championship quest than Buffalo is, than the Jets, any other team that need a QB. Jacksonville would be the ideal place. Now, Bortles played a little better in the second half, but he ran for more than he threw, and that's not going to make it too much in the postseason. Huck in Missouri, Mad Dog Unleashed. Huck, good afternoon. How are you today?
Doing pretty good, doggy. Listen, I will eat my hat if Tennessee beats New England this weekend. I will absolutely eat it with A1 sauce poured all over it. I don't see it. And I know Blake Bortles stinks, Chris. I do. But I could see Jacksonville and that defense, which is awesome, coming closer to maybe holding Pittsburgh to 14 points or 17 points and Bortles getting lucky or something, making a few throws here and there. Before I'd see.
Yeah, I see it the other way. I think it hurts Jacksonville that they've already beaten Pittsburgh badly once this year. Roethlisberger had a 38 quarterback rating in that game. I don't think it's going to happen again. So I would be a little more. I would be worried about that if I was a Jaguar fan. I'm not saying the Patriots are vulnerable. Chances are they'll be all revved up to prove that there's no dysfunction with the big three and go out there and play well. But I would be more apt if I was. I just think that Tennessee's got a little something going right now. I was more impressed with what they did and the way they responded to their head coach and the quarterback than I was with Jacksonville. That's the only reason why I thought maybe the Titans could be dangerous. Go ahead. Next.
Listen, I respect that, Chris. I do. But, Belichick and Brady, there might be a little conflict going on in the locker room. I get all that. But I'll take Brady and Belichick 75% over any team left in the playoffs. I would. And, I know that they're not the vintage Patriots team, but they went 13-3, Chris. I mean, they ain't blowing everybody out by 3 or 4 touchdowns, but they're still the best team in the league. And, I don't understand, a month ago you said that Pittsburgh got no chance of beating New England, and now you're kind of turned. What has caused you to maybe feel this way? Is it the conflict in the locker room?
No, I think I have turned a little bit. You're right, and I thought that home field game was significant for the Steelers, and they lost. I just think that the Patriots, Huck, they're due to lose a game in a big spot. I mean, they beat Seattle. They had no business winning that game. They obviously turned around and they beat Atlanta. They had no business winning that game. They won the December 17th game for home field. They had no business winning that game. I think they've lived on the edge a little too much. And I think it's due to go the other way. So as a result, that's why I would think that somebody could pick them off. Now, obviously, you would think that would have to be either Pittsburgh or the Super Bowl team and not Tennessee, so I understand that. But I just think the Pats are ready to lose a game. We'll see. Eddie in Jersey, a chance for him in New Jersey. Ed, good afternoon. How are you today?
Hey, Doug. How are you?
Fine, Eddie. Thank you. What's happening now? What do you have for me?
First off, you well know that if you took the under in that Jacksonville game, Blake Bortles would have turned into Johnny U.
I was one of those weekends. I've lost 1 million games in a row. If I would have taken Buffalo with the points, Jackson would have kicked the last second field goal to make it 13-3. If I took Carolina against the Saints, the Saints would have kicked the field goal. I would have lost by 8. If I took Tennessee, maybe Kurtz doesn't get hurt. You're right. It was one of those weekends that no matter what you did, you were going to get it wrong. So maybe you're right about that. Go ahead.
So my point is on Mariota. I'm a big Titan fan, so I'm a little jaded. But one thing you want to find out with any team when they go into the playoffs, I think the playoffs is the best revealer of what kind of quarterback you have. He struggled this year. He's had an off year, but he can quarterback my team any day of the week. I mean, his performance in the second half. You look at the stat line, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Played really well in the second half. Really well.
He carried that team in that second half.
He did.
Every critical third down.
He did.
Whether he needed to make it in the air or whether he make it on the ground. And the way the team responded to him, that's the it factor that I like to see with any quarterback, and I'm just glad we got him.
Yeah, excellent point. I think Mariota played a hell of a game. I really did. Now, listen, he got a couple breaks. Should have been a fumble at 14-0 through a bad pick in the left corner there with the kid I can't stand. What's his name? The big defensive back for the Chiefs. The kid who almost caused the fumble that day. I can't stand him. I'll think of it in a minute. Their best player back there. So he made some mistakes, but he played really well in that second. Marcus something, isn't it? Marcus Peters. Yeah, he played really, really well in that second half. I just think that they could be a live team right now. For some reason, I got a funny feeling. Brian in Jersey's a Ram fan. Ugly start for him. Brian, welcome. How are you today, pal?
All right, Chris. How about yourself?
I'm all right, Brian. Well, you weren't going to win 2 championships in 1 year. You got to look at it that way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing before the Rams game, Chris, read a lot of reports and over the weeks that Gruden and McDonough, don't get along as well, I guess, as Gruden did with Tirico.
Well, that's what Ira's been telling us that every Wednesday for about a month. Go ahead.
Right. Chris, was it me or how many times was McDonough going to try and get the Raider job out of Gruden, and he never bit? They started the broadcast with him saying this is a bittersweet moment. Gruden wanted no part of it. He referenced it at least 2 other times during the game. It was almost like McDonough was like digging at Gruden, and Gruden just never, you could just tell he wanted no part of talking about the Raider job, and McDonough kept going back to it. And I couldn't help but think, knowing, what I had heard, and like you said, like Ira reported, that he was sort of doing it on purpose to Gruden.
Well, that's pie. He got $100 million. So I don't care if he had his wife in the booth. For $100 million, you're going to probably leave. So let's keep that in mind. I'm not sure if that is as big an issue as people are making it out to be. I remember a couple years ago, I was at Game 5 of the World Series. The Bears played on Monday night, and Gruden and McDonough loved each other that day. They're both throughout the game. Cubs and Indians, 3-1 for the for the Indians. I'm not sure if that is that, but I do agree with you on the one thing. He did try to, sort of, eke him a little bit and get a little something out of him, because he did mention the Oakland scenario 2 or 3 times, and Gruden did not bite. I do agree with you on that. Now, what is he supposed to do in that spot? Everybody knows that's the elephant in the room. You have to, at least, that it's Gruden's last ever game for ESPN. He has to expect. Now, did he acknowledge it, by the way? I don't even know. Did he acknowledge it at the end of the broadcast?
I didn't see it, Chris. Again, I was off the game. I was getting something to eat before the Rams game started, so I didn't see the end of it after all the post game and stuff. But
right.
I just thought it was weird. I just couldn't believe he kept going back to it over and over.
He did go back to it a couple of times. Excellent point. Go ahead.
The other thing, Chris, again, real quick with the Rams, it's not going to get a lot of attention, obviously, because he's not a real big name player. But one of the big factors in the game was the Rams losing Michael Brockers on the defensive line. You notice in the first half the Falcons couldn't run the ball at all, and Brockers went out in the second quarter. In the second half, the Falcons ran the ball down the Rams' throat without Brockers in there. With Brockers and Aaron Donald on that defense.
The only problem with that is they are they're 29th in the league in rushing defense. That's the only problem.
Chris, no question about it. I'm just saying the first half the Falcons couldn't move the ball on the ground at all. The second half the Rams couldn't stop them. I thought that was a factor in the game. And the other thing I thought, Chris, if the Rams could have scored at the end of the first half and took the lead, I thought they would have won the game. It just seemed like the entire game the Rams were chasing it. They were never able to catch up, and then obviously they ran out of time at the end. But I think if they could have punched in a touchdown at the end of the first half and went up 14-13, I think it could have been a different game in the second half. But the Falcons were better than them. I thought the better team won that night, and hopefully this is just the start of something for the Rams.
I don't see why it wouldn't be. No question about it. And I'll tell you, Al was cranky. It was funny. Al.
He was, right?
Oh, is he cranky with Ed Hockley? My gosh, poor Al. Again, somebody must have not, like Harvey at a restaurant. Somebody must have given him a wrong order at lunch or something. He was cranky.
He was cranky. And it was all about, it's almost like he had a date he had to get to. He couldn't stand the extended replay rules because it was making the game longer.
It did take too long.
Oh, he's totally right. It's absurd.
And I'll tell you, McDonough did not have a great ball game for that too. A little too way over the top on that last play when you knew they were going to go back and take a look, and it was going to be close whether he was down.
Well,
or not.
If that moment justified going over the top, you'd be okay. It was like the Michigan State game,
but
which
you
he was
knew,
doing.
But you knew
it wasn't a fumble.
Well,
right?
You didn't know, but you thought maybe he was down.
Yeah, I mean,
you couldn't say for sure until you see the replay, but you thought
I
maybe
think
it was
most of us thought.
Well, it looked like it was a late fumble, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But and everybody says that I don't know that Gruden and McDonough don't love each other right now. Is that the deal?
I mean, that's what
Ira's been saying that for a long time.
We've been hearing that, but they looked. I mean, he got all choked up when he wasn't. Did you see that at the end?
I did not. Fill me in.
Yeah, it's I guess. Whenever they did a quick post game, they went right back to the booth, and he said, now, and then he wished him well, and McDonough was getting choked up, and then they gave a little high five. I thought it looked genuine to me.
Okay.
Now, I've heard that too, but who knows?
Right.
Wishing you all the best, and it's been a pleasure, blah, 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 that whole deal.
I remember 2 years ago, Game 5, they had the Vikings the next day with the Bears. Game 5, they were the Indians and the Cubs, and they both throughout the game, and they looked lovey-dovey that night. Yeah. And that was the first year they had done the games together.
So maybe that's a bunch of nonsense.
I don't know.
Stuff.
Ira says there's something to it. Now, again, he was going to leave anyway. For $100 million, he was going to leave.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah,
100 million, 10 years, you're going to leave.
He's gone.
I don't know if he's worth that kind of dough. I mean, he has.
Well, here's the question I have for you. Does he have to make the playoffs in the first round?
I would think he would.
I mean, don't you think? I mean, 9-7, 8-8's not cutting it.
Yeah, I would think, and they made the playoffs 2 years ago,
right.
So I would think they should make the postseason here this year. I agree with you 100%.
Have to.
And again, the one game, I would have gotten it wrong. Somehow, some way, they would have had a 38-35 shootout. But the one game that I loved all weekend was the Bills-Jaguars under, and I didn't get it right.
That was the lock of the year. My God,
there's no such thing as locks of the year.
I know, but geez.
That one I should have taken.
Unbelievable, that game.
That one I should have taken. And I'll tell you, I brought this up too. It was funny hearing Romo say at the end of the game, maybe the Bills are going to get a freebie with it. It's a freebie. What are you talking? And Nance didn't help him out. You think Nance would say, no, Tony, there's got to be a runoff here. Yeah. Where's the run? Jim said nothing, and they confused me at the end of the half when Buffalo got the offsides. I didn't know if it was a first down or not.
Well,
they were completely.
The officiating crew said it's still fourth down. I'm like, what do you mean it's fourth down?
But they didn't question it. And they were confused.
Well, they did once they lined up. No kidding. They're not lined up.
I thought that was not handled right by everybody.
Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, but when that was offsides, we knew it was an automatic first down. I mean, that was the weirdest thing.
Very strange. You got the half a yard there for the first down, and that was a terrible play call by McDermott.
Run the football, please.
He got a first down at the half-yard line. He throws a hard
Now they said that he changed the play at the line. Did you hear that?
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, the play was for a run. That's what they said in the studio on CBS.
Oh, I didn't see that. Well, how do they know?
Boomer all of a sudden. Boomer and Sims brought it up. I don't know if they brought it up on the broadcast itself, but I know they did in the studio.
So Boomer now knows 3,000 miles away how Buffalo's going to run their offense at the goal line.
He did play quarterback in the league. I mean, come on.
Maybe.
But either way, I mean, geez, run the freaking football.
That was terrible.
My goodness.
And
I kind of wanted to see Buffalo get the lead. I wanted to see Jacksonville sort of get tight and see how they'd handle it. You know what I mean?
3-0 was not going to be big enough.
Right.
100%. Had to be 7.
Yeah.
And, give Marone credit. He had the guts to go for it at 3-3. He could have easily kicked the field goal there.
Yeah, I agree. I was surprised.
And he threw the ball, too. So give Marone a little credit for that.
They don't trust him at all, though.
Well, no, they don't.
My goodness.
They don't. But, I mean, he did have the guts to go for 3. All right. I said this, I'll say it again. One close game in the AFC that you don't expect, and one home team lose this weekend in the NFC.
The one home team that would lose in the NFC, I think, would be obvious, Philadelphia.
All right.
Yeah.
I can see that. And then the AFC, which game would be close? The spreads are like 7 and 13.5.
Yeah, I don't really see.
I think Tennessee would be competitive.
Now, when you describe competitive,
I think that game would be a one-possession game in the fourth quarter. How's that?
Really?
Yes, I do.
Well, that is saying something.
I just got a funny Tennessee. I like what I saw at Tennessee. I think they believe. I like what I saw at Tennessee the other day. A team that is they're down 21-3 on the road in a playoff game where they had a bad finish to the year, and everybody's screaming about malarkey. And that team had the ball. They got the ball first, second half, and they went right down the field. They got a little lucky, which gives you the karma feel because they had the deflected pass. I got a funny feeling Tennessee's going to play well against New England. Plus, New England's got to deal with all these issues with Belichick. He had to deal with it today. It's going to come up again.
In my opinion, if the Patriots struggle or, heaven forbid, lose, I really don't think it's a lot about that. They're just not. They are not as good. I mean, they're not as good defensively. I don't know if it's going to be so much about that stuff.
If they're not that good, then Tennessee's got a lot of karma going into the game.
No, I'm not saying they're not that good. I just think they're as good as they have. But again, that's saying something, though. If you think it's going to be a one-possession
So you don't
game.
think so?
I'd be surprised, but,
You think Jacksonville will be a one-possession game?
I don't see how Pittsburgh doesn't smoke them.
All right, so
Jacksonville's defense is great. Nobody take. If they force turnovers and create a short field, that changes things. But do you really think that's going to happen two times in a row?
No, I do not. I do not. All right. The bookies had to make a lot of money this week.
Well, with Kansas City, they must have been killing.
And the Saints. Everybody would bet the Saints.
What was the spread on that game?
6.5. Everybody
That's a tough loss.
Oh,
Jeez.
Terrible. Everybody had to bet the Saints.
McCaffrey's he's good, huh?
Oh, yeah, McCaffrey made a nice play. Everybody has to bet the Saints. He's not he can't run the ball.
But boy,
he's too
fast.
small.
Jeez.
But he can catch it out of the backfield. Everybody's got to bet the Saints in that game. Who bet Carolina?
Yeah, no, I know. No, you wouldn't. But that's a tough loss. Were they up 12, right? 12?
And they were up really the whole
31-19, yeah.
21-6 at one point. They were up 15 points. One thing that Buck did, I should have brought this up too, and I didn't. One thing that Joe did, and I love Buck. You know that.
Absolutely.
One thing that Buck made a mistake on, he kept on bringing up on the last drive that Carolina, if they didn't miss that 28-yard field goal, would be in position to win the game. Now, Joe, you can't say that when he made a 58-yarder to hit a field goal at the end of the half.
Mm-hmm.
Because
that's not a gimme.
58 yards?
Not even close.
So if he made a 58-yarder, that breaks up the 28-yarder.
If it was 37, then you can make that statement.
Different.
Right.
But 58 yards, last play of the half. So that, I hate, because he said it 20 times on that last drive. Boy, imagine if Carolina had kicked the field goal, he missed a 27, whatever it was, 25-yarder.
25,
yeah. He made a 58-yard field goal. You can't say that.
That's fair.
Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, that's right. Okay. And he's good, He only missed one, I think, all year.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah, and he kicks the ball out of the end zone, too.
We just hit it wrong, I guess.
I think if Minnesota loses, it's going to be in a championship game. They'd be tight. They know that they're going to be 60 minutes away from hosting the Super Bowl. That all week they're going to hear about, wow, look how close we are to.
So you think if they win, if they beat the Saints,
which I think they're going to do, I think the next week they could be vulnerable.
Which would open the door perhaps for Atlanta. Imagine if Atlanta gets back.
And how about if Atlanta?
Because right now they're looking good.
How about if Atlanta does the Minnesota twice in 20 years? They won in '98 up there.
Mm-hmm.
How about if Atlanta does it again? Can you see that? Can you see Minnesota being tight as a drum?
That's a good point. I hadn't looked that far ahead
yet.
Week
17,
but
the championship Sunday. Oh my God, would they be tight? Tight.
Isn't it funny about Atlanta? I mean, we had them. They looked good the other night.
And by the way, Tennessee 25-1 in Vegas before the year win the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's why he's got an intro. I should have known.
Doggy.
This is like the Giants revisited.
Or the Indians.
That's right.
I have a history
you do well with those.
of winning these.
25-1
to win it all.
And I'm sure you didn't put $50 on it.
No, Lauren Torrey was not there for me.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
That would be correct.
Anyway, everything. You got a birthday forthcoming.
End of the month.
End of the month. Is it in the Super Bowl? Is it in the Super Bowl? January 25th? Is it not?
Yeah. No, we'll still be here.
Are you gonna be here? How about if I got an idea?
Yeah.
How about if I get you a Norwegian cruise line as a gift?
No thanks. That is brutal, huh?
You've been on a cruise. You hated the cruise. I
went on a cruise once. My honeymoon for a few days in the Greek islands, which was fine.
You didn't go outside. That's a different story.
The other one was not good. I'm not a big cruise guy. I'm just not really into it.
Not a chance to me.
Yeah, that's all. For Chris Russo, forget it.
But how does the captain say to himself, you know what? Bon voyage. Straight ahead.
Oh, God. Smooth sailing.
How do you do that? I know you got to get home to make the next money so you get the next group going. I mean, and you got to turn those.
It's like a machine.
You got to turn those boats around. But, I mean, oh, my gosh, that's ridiculous. I see Ronaldo tonight. Tommy, please. I mean, and you got to turn those.
It's like a machine.
You got to turn those boats around. But, I mean, oh, my gosh, that's ridiculous. I see Ronaldo tonight. Tommy, please, tonight, Tom. When he interviewed the coaches before at halftime after the game, I don't need an essay. I like to get on him for that.
I thought you said he did a good job last time.
And he listens all the time.
He's a big fan.
Oh, he listens. I get texts from him constantly. He listens to you. He listens to everything. He loves. He's one of the 7 out there at Mad Dog Radio.
7 million.
But anyway,
700 million.
Tonight, please, not an essay. After the game, I want a direct question. I don't want, how does it feel? You beat.
Since he's walking on the field as we speak, I don't think he's getting the message from you.
Hopefully not. Anyway, what's going on in sports? Anything I need to know about?
Well, aside from the national championship tonight, you know that Bill Belichick shot down the ESPN article and said he fully intends to.
You know,
coach the
he
team.
didn't shoot it down as much as you not. If you heard the quote on the air, it was absolutely not. It wasn't that definitive. But you may continue.
Yeah, well, he basically said that he didn't read it. So, you know.
Oh, he did say that, yeah.
Right. Bears naming.
What a strange hire. The chief offensive
Matt Nagy.
Oh, my gosh.
He's been with Andy Reid for 10 years, which guarantees non-success.
And, you know, maybe they thought Doug Peterson. But, you know, remember, the Bears don't pay coaches. And you know, Eric Nagy didn't walk in there asking $5 million a year. They do not pay coaches. You may continue.
Oh, Matt Nagy. Steeler Antonio Brown back at practice today, so he should be good to go for the Jacksonville game. Kawhi Leonard's out for the Spurs tonight. He's got a partial tear in his left shoulder. Right. Villanova's the new #1 team in college basketball.
Good job.
You might find this interesting.
Indiana beat Minnesota.
Well, forget about that. Well, we could talk about that. But West Virginia's #2, highest ranking since Jerry West's days of 1959.
Not bad. They've had a good stretch.
And Virginia's 3rd. College basketball's been a lot of ups, a lot of surprises. This weekend was crazy.
And the one thing you didn't tell us there, you made a mistake on.
What's that?
As usual. Andy Murray, surgery today, see at Wimbledon.
I didn't make a mistake because I didn't report on it, but
hip, see at Wimbledon.
Oh, that's a long, really? That far, huh?
Wimbledon.
Jeez. Poor guy.
But good as new. Had the surgery in Melbourne, 3 hours.
You know that for a fact?
Yes, because I saw it he put it on Facebook at 10:30 this morning. That should be on your update.
Yeah. Well, we'll try for 5:30. See if we get it then.
And one question: who won the tournament in Hawaii this weekend?
I have no idea.
Oh, come on, Steve.
I didn't pay attention to golf. Why would I?
Because Dustin Johnson won by about 8 strokes.
Well, good for him.
How do you not know?
Hopefully he's in line to win some majors this year.
Well, he's won a major before.
I know.
Hopefully he doesn't fall down the steps at the Masters doing God knows what.
So he dominated, huh? 8 strokes?
How do you not know this?
I didn't follow it. That's not exactly a big topic of conversation here.
I played that course, Kapalua.
How'd you shoot?
103. Wasn't bad. I didn't play it from the back, but it was windy. That
was when you were there a couple of years ago.
Yeah, 103.
Very good.
Very good. You may continue.
Thank you.
All right, we come back. Mad Dog Unleashed.